The movie opens as little Joan Huang and her family relocate to America, embarking on a completely new chapter of their lives. Naturally, Joan is deeply worried about settling into an unfamiliar place. But her father, Roger Huang, lovingly cheers her up, encouraging her to embrace this fresh start. On her very first day of school, the teacher introduces Joan to the rest of the class. But the warm welcome quickly fades. As the students stand up to pledge allegiance to the flag, a young boy turns to Joan and cruelly makes fun of her. Pulling his eyes back to mock her heritage, the alienation only worsens at lunch. Joan eagerly tries to befriend a group of girls, but they are entirely unimpressed by her presence. When Joan proudly takes out her home-cooked lunch, the pungent, unfamiliar smell causes everyone at the table to pinch their noses and leave in disgust. Utterly humiliated and heartbroken, little Joan throws her food away into the trash. Later that afternoon, her mother, Sophia Huang, picks her up from school and takes her to visit her father's workplace. Roger works as a janitor at a local high school. After warmly greeting his daughter, he excitedly asks her how her first day went. Hiding her pain, Joan lies, telling him that it was absolutely fantastic and that she made a lot of friends. That evening, the family is supposed to celebrate a traditional festival together, but Roger is unable to attend because he has to work late at the school. Wanting to be close to him, Joan asks to stay, and her mother allows it. While wandering the empty high school corridors, Joan notices that the school is hosting its prom night, peeking into the gymnasium. She watches the dazzling event unfold in awe. It is time to crown the prom queen. A beautiful girl wins the title. The glittering crown is placed on her head and the entire crowd cheers her name. Looking at the adored, celebrated girl, little Joan dreams of becoming exactly like her one day. Years pass, and Joan is now a teenager, heavily obsessed with makeup and social media. One day, she receives a notification. The school's most popular girl, Olivia, has announced on a live stream that she booked a role in a show and will not be running for prom queen this year. Joan is absolutely overjoyed. With Olivia out of the race, this is a great opportunity for her to finally claim the crown. While scrolling online, Joan frequently uses an augmented reality filter on an app called Ethnos. The filter alters her features, making her look blonde and white. After posting a filtered picture, she receives a direct message from the Ethnos company itself. The message states that she is one of their top users and has been selected for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. She ignores the message for now and goes to eat dinner. At the dinner table, Sophia scolds Joan for wearing so much makeup. Joan stubbornly responds in English, a language her mother dislikes using at home. Meanwhile, Roger is cheerfully practicing his guitar. He greets his daughter warmly before packing up and heading out for his evening cleaning shifts. The next morning, as Joan leaves for school, her mother reminds her to take her packed lunch. At school, Joan doesn't eat her lunch. Instead, she gives it to her best friend Brina in exchange for money, as Brina actually loves the traditional food. Walking down the hall, a boy named Nash accidentally crashes into her. Joan has a massive crush on him, but her lack of confidence leaves her frozen, unable to make a move. Suddenly, Olivia arrives. The popular girl is currently filming a promotional video to raise awareness about climate change, bizarrely launching a skin-burning campaign to make her point. Olivia raises funds and hands the money over to a teacher who advocates for climate action. When the teacher simply thanks her, Olivia is unsatisfied. She demands they reshoot the interaction, asking the teacher to act more enthusiastic for the camera. Soon, everyone in school is following Olivia's skin-burning trend. Brina, however, thinks the trend is stupid and inherently racist, pointing out that their brown skin won't burn the same way white skin does. Ignoring her friend's concerns, Joan simply asks Brina to help her campaign to become the new prom queen. After school, Joan and Sophia drive to pick up Roger from his cleaning job at a massive, luxurious mansion owned by the wealthy Mrs. Adams. Mrs. Adams graciously lets Joan inside and offers them tea. Looking around at the photos, Joan figures Mrs. Adams must work at a charity. Suddenly, the sound of shattering glass echoes through the house. followed by Roger screaming in pain. Joan and Mrs. Adams rush to the room and find Roger bleeding profusely from his hand. He accidentally broke an expensive vase, speaking in Mandarin. A panicked Roger tells Mrs. Adams she can deduct the cost from his salary until it is paid off. Joan translates, telling the owner that her father is very sorry. Mrs. Adams is visibly frustrated but manages to calm herself. She says it is fine but strictly warns them that if anything like this ever happens again, Roger will never get work from her or her rich friends. Back at home, Joan and her mother manage to stitch up Roger's bleeding hand by the following YouTube tutorials. Roger sadly informs his daughter that because of his severe hand injury, he won't be able to work, and he humbly requests that Joan take over his cleaning duties. That night, Joan falls asleep and has a vivid dream. She dreams she has won prom queen. Everyone is cheering as she stands on stage. But suddenly, the dream turns into a nightmare. She looks down and sees herself wearing dirty cleaning clothes, and she has absolutely no face. The crowd looks at her in horror. Joan wakes up in a cold sweat, checking her phone. She sees that Ethnos has messaged her again, providing a video link to reveal her reward. At school, the prom queen campaigns are in full swing. Joan sets up her stall, and Brina arrives to help, pulling out a much better designed poster to support her friend. Brina is excited and starts distributing the flyers, but nobody in the hallway seems to care about Joan at all. Defeated, Joan looks at the wall, displaying posters of all the previous prom queens. Every single one of them is blonde, determined. To change her image, Joan goes home and dyes her hair stark blonde. Her mother is deeply unhappy with the drastic change, but her father kindly supports her. Before Joan leaves the next day, her mother asks her to come straight home after school, so they can make dumplings together. At school, Olivia spots Joan's new blonde hair, but mistakes her for someone else. Later in class, Olivia actually talks to Joan, inviting her to get her nails done with her clique after school. Eager to fit in, Joan calls her mom and lies, claiming she has to stay at school to finish an assignment. At the nail salon, Joan meets Olivia and her friends, Greta and Kat. Realizing Joan is Asian, Olivia asks if she speaks Mandarin and begs her to translate for them so they can get local discounts. The owner explains the discounts are only for Joan, not her friends, but Joan pleads with the owner, who finally agrees, trying to capitalize on the moment. Joan asks Olivia if she plans on endorsing anyone for prom queen, knowing Olivia's endorsement guarantees a win. Shortly after, Olivia makes a video announcing she will endorse someone. She thanks Joan for her translation help and hugs her, but rudely criticizes Joan's dark hair roots before leaving with her friends. Desperate to get rid of her black roots, Joan checks her phone. Ethnos has messaged her yet again. She finally decides to visit the address provided. She arrives at what appears to be a deserted, closed-down shop. A security guard verifies her name and unlocks a hidden door. Inside, the facility is pristine. Joan watches promotional videos playing on screens, featuring people proudly claiming how successful and easy their lives became after their surgeries. The receptionist asks her to take a seat. Moments later, Dr. Willie Singer walks out, expressing how happy he is to see young faces. Dr. Singer shows her another video and asks a profound question. Are people tired of being harassed or discriminated against by white people? He reveals that he used to be a person of color. He explains that if you can't beat them, you have to be them. They have developed a revolutionary technology that completely changes a person into a white individual. Astonished, Joan asks how this is possible. Dr. Singer instructs the receptionist and the guard to show Joan their old before pictures. He then shows his own. He explains that he was once a top doctor in his field, but because of his skin color, he constantly watched less qualified white people get promoted over him. He left his career to start this company to help people like himself, stating that fair competition requires true equity. Since Joan is a minor, Dr. Singer explains she needs her parents' signature for the full procedure. But as part of today's free promotion, he offers her a complete, flawless hair transplant. He tells her if she likes the results, she can return the next morning with the signature and a deposit. Joan agrees. He takes her into the operating room, anesthetizes her, and painfully replaces her dark hair. Joan returns home with her new hair. Her mother has left out traditional food for the festival and some money. As she eats, Sophia comes out, and she is apologizing for being late. Her mother says it's okay and that school is important. Sophia notices Joan looks different, but admits she looks good. The next day, Joan is fulfilling her father's duties, cleaning Mrs. Adams's mansion. Mrs. Adams offers her a drink, asks about Roger, and complains that her own daughter threw a wild party, leaving vomit in the bathtub. She then casually informs Joan that next week's cleaning is canceled because she is flying to Peru. She points out a piece of art made from a single piece of cocoa meant to protest child labor. After Mrs. Adams leaves, resentful Joan takes her dirty cleaning brush and maliciously rubs it on her own, behind in anger. Later, while waiting for her mom, Joan spots Oliver and her friends passing by. She tries to hide her face, but they notice her. Brenda messages Joan about the prom campaign, but Joan completely ignores her best friend, choosing instead to text Olivia a simple "hey." The next day at school, Joan finds her campaign posters completely vandalized, with students laughing at her. Heartbroken, she tears the posters down and runs out. She's finally made her decision. She is going through with the full surgery. At home, she hands Sophia the clinic's consent form, blatantly lying and saying it is just a permission slip for a school field trip. Unsuspecting, Sophia signs the paper, lovingly telling Joan that even with the ridiculous hair, she still looks just like her father. The next morning, Joan returns to Ethnos. Dr. Singer anesthetizes her. As she drifts off, a bizarre video plays, singing about how good and easy it is to be white. She wakes up. Dr. Singer asks if she liked the song, tells her she is ready to see herself. Joan looks in the mirror and bursts into tears of joy. Her face has been completely transformed. When Joan arrives home with her new white face, her parents are utterly confused. They ask who she is, thinking she walked into the wrong house. When Joan says it's her, they find it bizarre and try to kick the stranger out. To prove her identity, Joan begins rattling off deeply personal details, like where specific items are kept in the house. She confesses she just had surgery to change her face. Roger still refuses to believe it and tries to throw her out, but Joan suddenly starts singing their favorite family song. Shocked beyond words, they finally realize this stranger is their daughter. Joan hands them the Ethnos Company brochure. Sophia is horrified, saying it is impossible and demanding to know how they operated on a minor. Joan coldly reveals that she tricked her into signing the consent form, furious and devastated. Her parents drag her back to the Ethnos office and demand to see the doctor. Dr. Singer greets them happily, but Sophia demands he change her daughter back immediately. Singer calmly states the procedure is entirely permanent, as explicitly written in the signed contract. Was tricked, but Singer insists there is nothing he can do and denies their request for a refund. Security violently throws the family out into the street. Outside, Sophia begins cussing at Joan. Joan fires back, shouting that being Chinese only made her weaker, and now she can finally live her true life as a real American. Sophia cries that Joan has destroyed her identity. Joan coldly replies that her only mistake was not doing it sooner. Sophia tries to hit her, but Roger holds her back. Heartbroken, Roger looks at the stranger before him and says he used to see his grandmother in her eyes, but now he cannot even recognize his own daughter. Joan ignores Brenda's multiple concerned text messages. She is thrilled with her new face, but she notices her skin is beginning to shed and peel. She pushes the strange side effect aside and ignores her family. At school, she confidently introduces herself as Joe Hunt from California. She sits right beside her crush, Nash, and he immediately strikes up a flirtatious conversation. "Ate lunch?" She walks past Olivia's table, hoping to be invited, but they ignore her. She goes to greet Nash instead. But when Olivia overhears that Joe is from LA, she suddenly pays attention, asking what brings her here. Joe lies effortlessly, claiming her dad is a movie producer, shooting a film locally. Hooked by the lie, Olivia invites Joe to sit with the popular clique. As Joe converses with her new crowd, a water bottle suddenly hits her. It's Brenda, who quickly apologizes. However, Brenda notices the familiar lunchbox sitting next to Joe, leaving her deeply perplexed. In the washroom, the popular girls are doing their skincare and trying to figure out plans for the evening. Jo, remembering the calendar from her cleaning job, knows Mrs. Adams is away on vacation in Peru. She boldly offers her massive house for a party, lying that her parents are out of town. The mansion party is a massive success. Jo and Nash dance together, and he showers her with compliments. However, Jo's eyes are fixed on Olivia, who is being swarmed by girls begging for her prom queen endorsement. Jo runs toward her but can't get through the massive crowd. Thinking fast, she tells some boys by the pool to throw water on the girls. The crowd shrieks and clears out, completely soaked. Playing the hero, Jo tells Olivia she has towels and leads her inside the mansion in the bathroom. Jo finds more excess skin peeling off her face and hurriedly removes it. Olivia looks around the mansion and tells Jo she is lucky to borrow such nice clothes from her mom. Olivia mentions her own mother isn't around anymore. Seeing a photo of Mrs. Adams on the wall, Olivia assumes it is Jo's mother and compliments that Jo has her eyes. While they talk, Jo's real mother calls her phone, but Jo coldly ignores it. Olivia hands Jo a marijuana joint. Jo takes her first drag but coughs hard, looking clumsy. Olivia asks what Jo wants to do after high school, sticking to her fake backstory. Jo says she will probably try music, just like her movie producer dad did. Olivia challenges her to sing. Jo makes up a song on the spot, and in the very last line, boldly asks Olivia to endorse her for prom queen. Olivia steps closer, an intimidating smile on her face. She reveals she knows Jo's secret. She saw Jo order the boys to throw the water. Olivia calls it a bitch move, but admits she likes her tenacity. Olivia promises that if Jo can prove she is truly trustworthy, she will get the endorsement. As Jo heads back to the party, Brenda confronts her. Brenda recognizes the lunchbox and knows this white girl is actually Joan. Joan tries to escape, but Brenda snatches her phone and unlocks it easily, knowing the password hasn't changed. Disgusted, Brenda asks what Joan has done to herself. Joan justifies it, saying she is finally getting attention from everyone. Brenda reveals she was worried sick, calling and even visiting Joan's house. Thinking she had moved away without saying goodbye. Feeling a pang of guilt, Joan apologizes and hugs her oldest friend. Suddenly, a loud commotion erupts outside. Olivia is aggressively yelling at guests to leave, accusing them of crashing the party. It turns out to be Brenda's friends. Brenda steps up to defend them, telling Olivia she has no right to kick them out since she isn't the host. Olivia turns to Jo, stating that Jo will decide. Every eye falls on her. Forced to choose between her real past and her fake future, Jo looks at Brenda and coldly tells her friends they need to leave. Betrayed and heartbroken, Brenda storms out of the mansion. Thrilled by Jo's cruel loyalty, Olivia officially addresses the cheering crowd. Loudly endorsing Jo Hunt for prom queen, Jo sneaks back home late at night. Her parents confront her, reminding her she was supposed to be grounded. Jo arrogantly replies that all she ever does is clean and go to school, and she just wanted to party at a friend's house. Roger smells the weed on her clothes, but she denies it. As punishment, Roger confiscates her phone. Frustrated, Jo storms into her room. She looks in the mirror and realizes with horror that her face feels like it is literally falling off. The next morning, the shedding is even worse. When she peels the dead skin away, it leaves a noticeable, discolored spot. She hurriedly cakes on makeup to hide the decay and heads to school. Surrounded by her new clique, she acts just as shallow as them. The school loudspeaker announces the official prom queen nominations. Jo's name is called, and she is absolutely overjoyed. Olivia even records a promotional video supporting her. In the corridor, Jo notices Brenda staring at her. Jo approaches and tries to apologize for kicking her out of the party. But Brenda sees right through her. She tells Joan that permanently changing her face proves that Joan genuinely believes she was ugly. Brenda asks, "Do you think I am ugly too?" Joan quickly denies it, but Brenda knows the truth. She wishes Joan luck, stating she won't be attending the prom because she doesn't want to watch another clone winning. Suddenly, Joan feels violently sick and rushes to the bathroom. Her facial deformation is rapidly worsening. She hurries to the ethnos clinic, but the waiting room is packed with people. The receptionist tells her the earliest appointment is next year. In a panic, Joan reveals her drooping face. The receptionist is unfazed, claiming it is just a common side effect, and hands her a specialized gel and invisible medical tape for treatment. Back home, Joan locks herself in her room, frantically applying the gel and tape to hold her skin together. Her parents knock on the door, wanting to talk. She hides her face and opens the door slightly. Sophia delivers devastating news. Roger has been fired. The wealthy owners discovered someone sneaked into Mrs. Adams' mansion, threw a massive party, and disabled the security cameras. Since Roger was the only employee with access, he was blamed and terminated. Sophia asks Joan if she knows anything about it. Noting that Joan had access to the house and came home from a party that exact same night. Cornered, Joan explodes in anger. She viciously denies it and cruelly tells her parents they should take this firing as a blessing, so her father can finally learn English and get a real job. She instantly regrets her venomous words and tries to apologize. But a broken Roger turns and walks away in absolute silence. Prom night arrives. Joan steps out of her room in a beautiful dress. She finds her parents celebrating quietly in the kitchen. Roger explains today is their 10th anniversary of arriving in America. Despite her cruelty, Roger looks at his daughter and tells her she looks beautiful. Sophia remains dead silent. Joan arrives at the dance with Nash. Everyone compliments her stunning appearance. She hits the dance floor, and as she and Nash lean in for a romantic kiss, Joan suddenly pulls away. Her skin is aggressively shedding again. She sprints into the washroom, frantically applying the emergency gel and tape to hold her sagging flesh in place. Olivia walks in and asks if everything is okay. Joan begs her to leave, but Olivia catches a glimpse of the melting face. Surprisingly, Olivia is entirely unfazed. She tells Joan that the old skin always fights back at first, but it gets better. Olivia expertly steps in, helping Joan apply the tape and gel to fix her face, proving that Olivia knows exactly how the Ethnos products work. With her face secured, Olivia leads Joan out to the stage. The moment has arrived. The teacher opens the envelope and officially names Jo Hunt as the prom queen. The crowd erupts into deafening cheers. Joan walks up the steps and graciously accepts her glittering crown. But as the bright stage lights beat down on her, the adhesive tape completely fails. Right in front of the entire school, Joan's face violently splits and begins to melt. Massive flaps of pale, synthetic skin slide off her skull. The cheering abruptly stops. Students in the front row begin vomiting in sheer terror. Overwhelmed by the horrific humiliation, Joan collapses onto the stage and blacks out. Joan wakes up in an unfamiliar, pristine bed. A man calls out for Olivia. Olivia enters the room and tells Joan what happened. She calmly assures Joan not to worry, very few people manage to get a clear video of her melting face. And Olivia promises she will make sure those videos disappear. Joan sprints to a mirror. Her face is still horrifyingly saggy. Olivia casually promises her that it will eventually heal. Olivia's father walks into the room and greets Joan warmly. He tells her it is incredibly rare to find a fellow ethnos enthusiast. He prepares a meal for them. Sitting at the table, Joan asks what their original race was before the surgeries. The father casually replies that they do not use the word race anymore. They believe that true equality only comes from completely eliminating it. He explains that when his family moved here from Cuba, they decided to start a completely new life and became some of the earliest clients of the Ethnos Clinic. He asks if Joan's parents have decided to change their ethnicities as well. Joan quietly says no. Olivia's father coldly states that people who refuse to share their ideology will eventually vanish from their lives. He reveals that Olivia's mother refused to undergo the surgery, which is why she is no longer with him. He calls it sad, but insists she could have had all this wealth and status. Listening to this cold, soulless philosophy, Joan realizes the terrifying emptiness of the life she chose. She immediately runs out of the house and rushes back home. She walks through the window and sees her parents sitting together. When Sophia sees her daughter's deformed face, she is initially horrified, but then bursts into tears and runs to hug her tightly. Roger joins them, embracing his broken child. Sophia cries, telling Joan that she finally understands her struggle. When they first moved to America, Sophia also felt like she didn't fit in. But she proudly declares that no matter what, they will always be Chinese. Roger holds his daughter and confesses that he too wanted to fit in when they arrived. But he realizes now that they must become their own unique kind of Americans, keeping their heritage and roots firmly intact. The next morning, Joan and her mother march back to the ethnos clinic to fix the mistake. But the clinic is now packed with crowds of people. When the receptionist spots Joan's melting face, she immediately calls security to throw them out. As they are tossed onto the pavement, Dr. Singer walks outside. Joan desperately demands that he change her back to her original self. Singer coldly refuses, reminding her that the procedure is 100% permanent and nothing can be done. Joan cries out that she is a monster. Singer looks at her without a shred of empathy and states, "For a new plant to grow and flourish, the old seed needs to die." In the haunting final scene, Joan returns home. Standing in her bathroom, fueled by anger and regret, she begins violently tearing the synthetic, sagging white skin away from her face. As she rips the false flesh apart, she discovers her original, beautiful Asian eyes looking back at her from underneath the mask. For the very first time in her life, she truly appreciates them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the recaps, PLS, like and subscribe. See you in the next recap.